So I've been fighting this. I've been fighting this. I've been fighting what my eyes have been telling me. Sometimes we do that. It's called a bias. All right? I've been fighting what my eyes have been telling me. It's called a bias, trying to confirm certain things or trying to negate certain things. But I have to admit, if I'm going to be fair, the Joker is the best player in basketball in the NBA.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the stack on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? My filming here with the Sports and the Real podcast. Appreciate you joining me once again, as always. Listen and follow and subscribe, as always. YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever. As always, I appreciate the love, man. We're making progress. That's all I can ask for. I mean, I'm enjoying the ride. All right, let's get into it. So, anybody who's ever played basketball, whether you play once a week or you play all the time, like the one thing you hate the most is dudes who go ballistic against you, and next game they're absolute trash. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't even need to say any names. There is nothing worse in basketball, especially for those who go to open gym runs, right? Dude goes crazy against you. Makes 5, 6 buckets. You like, every time he makes a shot, you're looking at dude like, where'd that come from? There's nothing worse than that guy who makes all the shots against you. Against next game, he puts you out, so you on the bench now. You're waiting on downs. And now you're waiting on the sideline, and you're watching this dude play, and he can't make a shot. Nothing. He's getting stripped. He's missing easy bunnies. Like, what the hell happened here? There's nothing worse than that in basketball as a basketball player, whether you're the NBA or, LA Fitness, whatever, local park. There's nothing worse than that. So I'm sure the Boston Celtics were killing themselves watching the Miami Heat absolutely kill them. Strus and these boys, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, these guys seem like prime Jordan. Like prime Steph Curry and Clay. Couldn't miss a shot. And all of a sudden, against Denver, you can't find them. And it's not like Denver's defense was ridiculous in the finals. They just couldn't make shots. Them is open shots. They couldn't find the rim. Except for maybe like one game where Max Strus balled pretty good. Like, the Boston Celtics had been kicking themselves for allowing this Miami Heat to beat them. And listen, the Miami Heat were a good team, okay? They were scrappy. They were tough. Spoelstra was probably the best coach in the league to me. But there's no way, and I'll say it again, there's no way if the Boston Celtics were on top of their game, as talented as they are, there's no way they should have lost to the Miami Heat. Because that team with those players, like, they don't do anything super special where you're like, wow, these guys are unstoppable. Jimmy's not doing anything super special, as was proven in the finals. That's like, oh, he's unstoppable. If the Boston Celtics had been focused from the beginning, and if their coaching had been as good as it should have been, like allowing these guys to actually play basketball instead of putting 3-point quotas on them, they would have won the series before Jason got hurt. And I said if Jason didn't get hurt in the Game 7, they still would have won. But the Celtics should have beaten the Heat, all right? We know that. But they didn't play as smart and as hard as they should have. And that takes me back to my point that I've been making this whole playoffs. The best basketball teams win who play smart, who play tough. All right? You got the best players. You play smart. You play tough. You're probably going to win. 99% of the time. The Celtics had the better players, but for most of that series, they didn't play the smartest, jacking up bad threes, and they didn't play the toughest. The Heat out-toughed them. And that's how the Heat win. If they can't out-tough you, this particular squad. If they can't out-tough you, they're not going to win. All right? They're rarely going to just, go bombs over Baghdad crazy and just make a whole bunch of shots. So with all that being said, shout out to the Denver Nuggets, man. I picked them to lose. I picked them to struggle against the Timberwolves. They did not. I picked them to lose to who they played next. The Suns. They did not. It's crazy that it turned out that the Suns were the biggest competition. The Suns with no depth. Shows you how great KD and Booker are. And also, it shows that Monty Williams probably shouldn't have lost his job. Uh-oh. I'll say it again. We put a lot of, the media, fans, put a lot of emphasis on coaching. And coaching matters. I'm not saying coaching matters. But there comes a point where the other team is just better. They just have better players. Or the players that you do have just don't play hard enough. For example, right? Like I said, Monty Williams shouldn't have lost his job, I don't think. But the Suns just didn't have, enough horses, right? If you compare how the Suns played the Nuggets versus how the Heat played the Nuggets, the Heat aren't more talented, but they played them tougher, even though the Suns got 2 wins off of them. But the Heat played them closer, especially in that wrap-up game. That's because the Heat played tougher. They play harder, right? The Heat went out swinging, right? If you compare how Bam played against Joker versus how Ayton played against the Joker, it's night and day. And Ayton's bigger than Bam. But Ayton was getting bullied to the point where dudes thought the backup would be better. So one guy played, is shorter but plays stronger and tougher. And even though Joker still had his way, you could tell he was, he had a fight for it. And Bam gave him a fight. Versus Ayton, who's sitting there like getting bullied and playing soft and no threat on the offensive end, and then quits in the last game, basically. Like, as a coach, you can't control that. So as a coach, you can't control, your best players quitting. Right? You can't rah-rah and motivate, these millionaires. They either want to play or they don't. So Spoelstra's a great mind. Tactically, strategically, he does wonders, right? He did wonders with that Miami Heat team. They overachieved big time. But really, it was just their effort. And it was because there were guys in that locker room who were just tough fighters. So Jimmy Butler is a fighter. Even though he's not the most skilled player in the league, he's a fighter. Bam is a fighter. And they put up a fight, and they made it tough for the Denver Nuggets, even though they were clearly outgunned. Like, they had no answers for the Joker. And they barely had any answers for Jamal Murray. So basketball is simple. I'll say it again. Basketball is simple. Best players play the toughest, play the smartest, are going to win probably 99% of the time. So I don't think Monty Williams should have been fired. That's my takeaway. Could he have done better? Yeah, that's anybody. That's any coach, any player. There's always opportunities for improvement, right? That game 7, they got blown out. It wasn't a lack of effort on their part. They were just missing shots. And that was a thing with them, right? They had no depth and no real chemistry, right? They were thrown together at the last second. So, when they're making shots and things are flowing, they're great. When they're not making shots, then, they can look bad against a really good Denver team. And Denver, like I said before, Denver essentially said, we're not going to let Durant or Booker score those last couple games. And they didn't. They said anybody but Booker and Durant. So they doubled, trap, whatever, right? And other guys couldn't make shots. And their big man was missing in action. But shout out to Denver again. Really good team. Complete team all in this era of basketball, really all-around team. Leads me to my next point. So I've been fighting this. I've been fighting what my eyes have been telling me. Sometimes we do that. It's called a bias. All right? I've been fighting what my eyes have been telling me. It's called a bias, trying to confirm certain things or trying to negate certain things. But I have to admit, if I'm going to be fair, the Joker is the best player in basketball in the NBA. All right? At the beginning of the playoffs, throughout the regular season, I thought it was Giannis. He was an unstoppable force in the regular season. But having watched the playoffs and the whole thing, in this current state of basketball, in this year, when you account for being healthy, being an unstoppable force, the results, complete game, Jokic is the best basketball player in the NBA. His jump shot is wet. His post game is impeccable. And there's nobody his size in the game who can stop him. His passing is ridiculous. His instincts as a passer is second to none. He loves basketball. Now he doesn't love what comes with basketball, with NBA basketball, all the extracurricular stuff. But he loves basketball. You can tell he just enjoys playing. Like he plays like it's a playground, which is what the game is, right? If you play basketball without an agenda, right, like we did on the playgrounds growing up, then the game looks like that. It looks simple. You look like you're having fun. He's not out there just to get his own stats, which is what a lot of dudes in the NBA are right now. They're just trying to get their own points. Obviously, that leads to money. That's what most fans, casual fans, see as the points. But Joker plays with no agenda, man. If you're open, he passes it. If he's open, he shoots it. It's simple, man. But the casual fan's not going to see that. Yeah, he still has some deficiencies, I think, on the defensive end. But I don't think his deficiencies, he has to me, right, when you're comparing best players and you're nitpicking at the top, the best players, it's who has the least deficiencies, right? Or whose deficiencies are the smallest. So at this point, I think the Joker has the most complete game, and his deficiencies compared to others are probably the least, right? He could beat you with the points, the assists, the boards. Like I said, I thought it was Giannis, but Giannis literally fumbled best player in the world title away in real time on live television. He's caught in 4K. And Bucks fans have to admit this. Giannis is great, but if you can't trust your best player to have the basketball at the end of the game, then is he the best player? Can your best player be someone you can't trust to have the basketball at the end of the game? Can your best player be someone who's going to play hot potato in the last seconds because he doesn't want to get fouled? Can that be the best player in the world? Can your best player not be able to hit a jump shot, right, against Bam? So you saw it again in real time. Bam against Giannis, even though Giannis still scored his points, right? And again, he was hurt, right? We'll give him that. But the strategy against him remains the same, right? We're going to give you the jump shot. You can't do that against the Joker, man. You want to give me that midi post? Pinch post? Free throw line extended? Okay. I'll kill it all day. So you can't sink on him. And in today's world where there's not big enough dudes, when he wants to back you down, he's going to back you down. So he's the best player in the world, man. The kid's talented. He's on his way to being all-time. Now, some people, like I said before, some people are getting carried away. He's already top 5 offensive player ever and top 5 center ever. Yeah, I'm going to say slow down. Without my analytics-driven tinted goggles on, like some people have, or recency bias, I'm going to say slow down because I saw some of the best centers. And while Jokic can get there, he's not there yet. But right now, he owns the belt. Right now, Jokic owns the belt as the best player in the world. Somebody's going to have to come take it. And I don't know who that's going to be. Looking at the landscape in the NBA, I don't know who can take best player from him. Embiid next year, but he's always hurt. KD, maybe if KD's healthy, he can because he's in a good environment on a good team. So KD can take the belt next year maybe. Giannis maybe will take the belt, but again, Giannis has to figure out his jump shot because late in games against the best teams, it's going to get exposed that you can't shoot jump shots and you can't shoot free throws. I mean, I really don't know who else can take the title. Bron is old, right? LeBron is old, so I don't know if he can take the title. He's going to put up stats next year, of course, but best player in the league, I think it's the Joker, and it might be for a couple of seasons, right? KD has a chance to take it back if he can stay healthy. If Giannis can figure some things out, low post moves, jump shot, whatever it is, right? But for now, undisputed best player in the world is the Nikola Joker Jokic. He gets my vote. But shout out to Denver, man. Long time coming. I can't hate that franchise. It's not one of those franchises where you can't stand them. Like they're just a good team, right? They don't talk trash. What's crazy about the whole thing, man, is watching the celebration. Is like this guy Joker, like I said, he loves basketball. He loves to play, but he wants nothing to do with the extracurriculars, man. He doesn't care about the interviews. He can't even open a champagne bottle. Like he just wants to play basketball, hang out with his family, horses back home, blah, blah, blah. And that's okay. But the Nuggets team is just, they don't have nobody, there's no one on there who you can not like, right? Who's just total trash, who dislike, they play dirty. There's nothing like that. They just play basketball. So they're a really good team. I don't think they're an all-time team. Right? I think, and again, this is not to diminish them. I don't think let's say this Denver Nuggets team played against like prime LeBron, right? Let's say first year back in Cleveland LeBron, second year back in Cleveland LeBron, God mode LeBron, Miami, I don't think Denver beats God mode LeBron, this Denver team. If God mode LeBron is on this current Lakers team, they're not winning that series. I'm sorry. So yeah, so in championships, and I'll talk about this later on another topic, winning championship kind of takes a little bit of luck. The environment has to be right for you to win a championship. But don't want to take nothing away from Denver. Great team win. They did what they were supposed to do, right? That's what championship teams do. Boston, you beat the teams in front of you. The teams that you're better than, you're supposed to beat them. Play hard, play smart. When you got the best talent, the better talent, you should win those series. All right. Next topic. So, as I'm watching the finals, two things come to mind. Again, the Joker's the best player in the world, right? No doubt about it. But then I got to thinking a couple of things. There are really a handful of guys who you can call true number ones in the NBA. Like guys who you know for sure, if they have a good enough team around them, they can lead the team to a championship. Right? There are so few number ones. Everybody wants to be a number one, but there's so few number ones. Like the aces, the jokers. There is the joker, Nikola Jokic, but the jokers, right? These guys like who are essentially unstoppable forces, right? Which is what you need in the NBA, right? You need two things. You need a number one and a joker, you know, he's wild. He's a guy you can't do nothing with, right? No matter what you do, he's going to score. And I think Jimmy Butler, as great as he is, I don't think he's a number one. He's not a joker. He's not, you know, no matter what's on the deck, on the table, you know, you could put him down. He trumps that. His scoring is not like that. He kind of relies on free throws a lot to get his points. Great player still, but I think Jimmy's been cosplaying as a number one. He's not. I think he's more of a number two. And I'll get to that in a bit. But the league has so few number ones, so few guys who you can say, okay, this guy with the right team around him can lead us to a championship because what he does, especially in today's game on offense, there's nothing you can do about him. Like Nikola Jokic, there's nothing you can do about him. All right? And Steve Kerr said this on, I think it was on Draymond's podcast, when, you know, diagnosing the Nuggets series. The Nuggets is like the real head of the snake of the Denver Nuggets is probably Murray. Because you already know the Joker's going to get his. So there's few guys like that, few Jokic's, few Jokers, few number ones in the NBA, but a lot of guys are cosplaying. They're acting like they're in situations where they're having to be number ones when they're really not. So to me, there's not that many number ones who we know can lead a team to a championship. All right? You have Bron, but Bron is old. Steph is aging. A healthy Kevin Durant. Kawhi proved it. And Giannis. Who else can we say is like, you know, a number one, a true uno? It ain't nobody else who's proven it. Tatum is a number one on the Celtics, but so far, he hasn't been able to get over the hump. And he's had great teams. He's been on great teams from the beginning, really. That doesn't mean that he can't get there, but he's not there yet. So there's few number ones who have proven that we know with the right environment can take a team to a championship. As a result, you have GMs and teams investing, you know, in guys, paying guys a lot of money, number one money. But really, that guy probably won't ever win them a championship. But Dame's older now. I don't know if Dame's still in his prime. Maybe. Right? You don't realize until you look it up. You're like, damn, these guys been around a while. So their legs aren't what they used to be. Now, they could beat you in different ways, their mind, but when you start aging, it starts to get more challenging, especially with the pace of the game now when these young pups coming up, making you work all the time. So those are the guys to me, right, that I think are like legit bona fide number ones. Joker's wild. So Nikola Jokic, Bron, Steph, healthy KD, Kawhi, and Giannis at this point. So that leads me to my next point, the next thought I had while watching the finals. Who's the best number two? So a lot of people can say, hey, you know, this guy's the best player in the world, right? And there's a lot of incentive which forces guys, you know, to want to be the best player on the team. But very few guys then realize and have the self-awareness that maybe I'm not a number one, I'm a number two. So Paul George had the realization this year that in order to win, maybe it's better than I'm the number one, or he's admitted this year, right? Maybe I'm better served being the number 2. And that's okay. Right? The number 1 is the guy you can't do nothing with, right? He's Michael Jordan. He's LeBron, right? He's going to get his points, right? And you need a number 1. You need a true number 1. But to win a championship, you also need a true number 2. You need the guy who can, fill in where number 1 may be lacking, whether it's in game or in personality. Right? And you have to have guys who are willing to be number 2. And I think, I'm going to ask a question, is Jamal Murray the best number 2 in the league? Maybe. Right? Because he fits that role perfectly. He plays it perfectly. He knows his role. And the great thing for him is that, Joker don't care about being number 1, really. He don't care about the glory. If Jamal Murray really wanted to, he could really try to steal a spotlight. But he's not like that. He's a team player, obviously. You could tell. He just plays his role, gets his buckets, gets his team involved, does what's asked. It's so few guys like that, but you need that number 2 guy to be great to win and to win consistently. So I'm wondering, does the NBA need an award for the best number 2? Call it the Scottie Pippen Award. The Scottie Pippen Award as the best number 2 player in the NBA. The NBA needs the Scottie Pippen Award, in my opinion. Since we're just making up awards anyway, making up mid-season tournaments and awards, Western Conference, Eastern Finals MVP. Cat's going to fill up the trophy cases anyway. Might as well. So the NBA should have the Scottie Pippen number 2 award. Supporting cast. All right. Hollywood has a best supporting actor. Why not the NBA? So it got me thinking as I'm watching the NBA Finals, who are the best number 2s? And Jamal Murray fits the bill perfectly. He does everything that you need a number 2 to do. When the number 1 ain't flowing, he can pick up the slack, right? Personality-wise, game-wise, him and the Joker fit perfectly, like a glove, hand in glove. So like I said, it's a lot of guys who are masquerading as number 1s. But guys like Jamal Murray are number 2s. Other number 2s you could think of, right? Chris Middleton recently, NBA Finals. He does what Giannis can't do, which is hit tough shots. So during that championship run a couple years back, Chris Middleton was hitting some tough buckets to the point where there's people on TV who were saying he's the Batman. No, he's not the Batman, but he's the Robin that makes the Batman as great as he is. So when you think about it in history, right? I had a couple episodes ago talking about Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen allowed Jordan to be as great as he is. And Scottie filled in where Michael could not. And that's what makes a great number 2. Right? The number 1's going to do his thing, but everybody has holes. And the number 2, for it to work, the number 2 can't be exactly like the number 1, or else you're going to clash. So Scottie couldn't have the same personality as Michael Jordan. They would have clashed. And Scottie couldn't be a scorer because they would have clashed. Michael was a scorer. If Scottie was just a scorer, they wouldn't have won. They would have clashed. It would have been your turn, my turn. But Scottie was more of a facilitator. He did all the dirty work. He defended the best players, and he allowed them to win. That's why Scottie Pippen to me is the ultimate number 2, at least that I've seen. Right? There's probably older people than me who are going to say, hey, this and that person from the Boston Celtics in the 60s. But Scottie to me is the ultimate number 2 because he did everything that Jordan didn't, right? Defended the best players, allowed Jordan to roam and to do his thing on offense, right? Took the charges. His personality was different, right? While Jordan was, pounding his teammates, if you watch The Last Dance, Scottie was more, helping people up, supporting them. So currently, I think Jamal Murray might be the best number 2, meaning that he's not the best player who could be a number 2. he's the best player playing as a number 2, I think, currently. So the Nuggets not only have the best player in the world, but they probably have the best number 2 in the world, the best situation. Meaning, like I said, I think Jimmy Butler is more of a number 2. So if Jimmy Butler played with a true number 1, then I think Jimmy would be a great number 2 and probably the best number 2 in the league. Like if Jimmy played with, which he did, with Joel Embiid, oh my God, this year, they're not going out like that. Because Jimmy is everything that Embiid isn't, right? His personality, his toughness. So, and this is an example. This is a great example of what I mean by you got the number 2 has to be different from the number 1, right? When you watch the Sixers, both Embiid and Harden are the same. They're great scorers. But when things go bad, they have the same bad attitude. Their shoulders slump. They both gave up in that game 7. Like there was nobody to get the team like, hey man, let's go, y'all. We ain't out of this. Let's D up. There was nobody on that team who did that. So Jimmy would have been a better complement to Embiid than Harden. Because when things go bad, Jimmy doesn't just slump his shoulders and go away. Even in the elimination game against Denver, right? Jimmy wasn't playing that great. For whatever reason, he was kind of passive early on in that game. But towards the end, he came on and started making shots. Right? And you could tell his mind wasn't ever out of the game. He was just tired. He was exhausted. Because he was trying to carry both the offensive and defensive load. Guarding Jamal Murray, trying to score. That was tough. Again, Jimmy's not a true number 1, but as a number 2 to Embiid, oh yeah, Sixers are dominant. Assuming health, right? Assuming health. But that's what to me, makes a great team, right? You need a number 1 who can be amazing, who's unstoppable, you can't do nothing with, and you need the number 2 who's also, almost just as unstoppable, but he really just fills in all the gaps, right? He fills in all the gaps for where that number 1 is lacking. So I talked about Jordan and Pippen being examples of the past. Shaq and Kobe, even though they were closer, which made them kind of unfair. They were both kind of ones. At one point, they were both like 1A, 1B. But you could, like Shaq and Kobe, right? The personalities were different. Whereas Shaq, was, jovial and happy-go-lucky and, Shaq's defense wasn't all that great. But Kobe, even though he was an assassin on offense, was a lockdown defender. He was more motivated. He was Mamba mentality. Right? So their personalities, kind of offset each other. You have the yin and the yang. Steph and Clay. Right? Steph gets all the pub, but Clay shoots just as well. And he guarded the best player usually, the best perimeter player. Point guard, wing, right? That was Clay's job. Clay did the stuff that Steph couldn't do on defense. And on offense, he made life easy for Steph. Because while Steph is running around, doing all his thing, Clay's man can't help. Right? I already talked about Middleton and Giannis. In the clutch, Middleton's probably going to have the ball. And I think this year Middleton was hurt, obviously. I think he just had surgery or something like that. But Middleton was the one in that playoff from making all the clutch baskets. Yeah, Giannis would have some nasty stat lines, but yet Middleton, right? And Middleton, again, play style was different, personality is different. Right? Middleton is a more laid-back guy, Meanwhile, Giannis is going ham. He's mean mugging. He's dunking on fools, going 100 miles per hour all the time. You need that balance. I'm telling you, if you're going to win in the league, if you look at your favorite team, if you're going to win in the league today, you need that balance. You need the one unstoppable dude, and you need the number 2 guy to be almost just as good, maybe a one tad bit lower, but who fills in perfectly, right? Bron and Kyrie's another example. And Kyrie, for whatever reason, thought this is what happens. Dudes think they're number one, right? Kyrie had it great as a number two. Like, this is why I think you need a Scottie Pippen number 2 award. Make some incentives behind it, right? GMs could put incentives behind it. Hey, man, if you're the true number 2 and we win, like, you get on the pub. You get to go to the Hall of Fame. You get 6 chips and go to the Hall of Fame and be remembered as one of the best ever. People may try to clown you later on, but you won and you made a ton of money and you impacted winning. Like, dudes need to be incentivized to be seen, to be okay with being the number 2. Right now, everybody is incentivized to be the best, to be number 1. And honestly, like I said before, there's only a few number 1s in the league. Maybe like 4 guys, 5 guys who are true aces, jokers in the league who, like this guy, if you put the right team around them, they can win a chip. Everybody else is a number 2 and below. And the faster you have guys buy into that, the better off you'll be. So Jamal Murray to me is the best number 2 right now. And he's the best environment, right? He's the best number 2 playing as a number 2. I think that goes to Jamal Murray. Great team player. His number 1's unstoppable. But even when Joker, needs help, Jamal Murray's right there to step in. His shot making during the playoffs was ridiculous. And he makes it look effortless. He was distributing, orchestrating an offense. He did everything they needed. And again, he's in a great situation because his number 1 doesn't really care about the acclaim. He doesn't care about the fame. He doesn't care about the parties. He just wants to play basketball, love on his family, go chill at the house with his horses. So that's what makes Denver a great team, man. They got a great number 1, the best player in the league right now, and probably the best number 2 in the league right now. All right. Next topic. So we have problems in basketball and sports discourse, man. Sports conversations. Specifically, revisionist basketball takes suck. Revisionist history basketball takes suck. And essentially it's gotten to the point, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. The conversation really right now is if you didn't win a championship, right, and you're counting stats or whatever, right, those are the arguments. Like counting stats or LeBron has scored the most points ever, right, or advanced analytics even, right? So it's stats, comparing stats and charts and rings, right? You can't have conversations about the product you see on the floor anymore because it's so easy to just pull up a million numbers on Google, right? And to count rings. And I hate those debates because it waters down conversations and it really takes away from people's careers and people's greatness. And when you're looking at history, you can't have a conversation about history because all people want to do is look at stats and rings. So now, Carmelo Anthony announced his retirement during the playoffs. And all you hear about on social media is people calling Carmelo Anthony overrated. And he sucked. He never won a championship. Like Carmelo Anthony, man, is one of the absolute best players to ever touch a basketball playing the NBA, period. But the stat nerds who want to talk he's inefficient and the folks who just want to focus on rings make it impossible to have that conversation. Carmelo Anthony is one of the very best, absolute best basketball players ever. And he's one of the probably top 5 in my lifetime offensive players, scorers of the basketball ever. Period. Stop making up stuff. Stop taking away from the man's greatness because you want to focus on just rings. Oh, he didn't win a ring. Championships are so, I don't want to say lucky, But circumstances matter, right? Circumstances matter. Meaning, like I said before, Joker, as great as he is, didn't have to go through prime LeBron. And he didn't have to go up against other great centers who are in their primes and battle out, right? It's not that his role was easy, but the circumstances allows him to dominate. And that's fine. It's okay to say he's great and he's dominant. But we also have to look at the circumstances and what's around them. So you can't sit there and take away from Carmelo because he didn't win a championship and he couldn't lead. Like, when was Carmelo in a situation on a team where you're like, that team could have won a chip, right? You're going to knock him because he wasn't as great as Bron? Okay. But he's still an all-timer, right? There are guys who are all-timers who didn't win a chip, and that's okay. Charles Barkley is an all-timer. He never won a chip. Like, stop with this championship or bust conversation, and then we get into this inefficiency conversation with advanced analytics. Use your eyes, man. Watch basketball. Carmelo Anthony is one of the greatest basketball players ever, period. And it's frustrating to watch these debates, even, guys on TV who are getting paid. Like, watch the game, man. Like, when Carmelo Anthony in his prime had the basketball, like, you were at his mercy. Like, he was, if he didn't make the shot, it's probably because he just missed. Same with KD. And people want to knock KD's career and say, well, he never won outside of Steph. There are circumstances, man. When was Carmelo Anthony on a team where you're like, and I just talked about this, when was Carmelo on a team when you're like, okay, this team can win a championship? Name them. Name when Carmelo Anthony was on a team and in a situation where you could be like, okay, this team is expected to win the chip. He had a number 2, a co-star right there ready to help him win. Yeah, he had his flaws. So does everybody. But man, it sucks people now are calling this dude overrated. Like, this guy, yeah, he never won a championship. You know why? He never played on a team that was championship worthy, if we're being honest. No knock to his teammates, but he never played on a team that was championship worthy, and he had roadblocks. There were other better teams there. So don't knock the guy because he never won a chip or he's not prime LeBron. Just because you're not the best doesn't mean you're not great. Oh, he's overrated. Oh, he was a ball hog. Nah, man, stop that. As an offensive talent, Carmelo Anthony can beat you any number of ways, any way you wanted it. Inside, outside, low post, mid post. His jab step is one of the best in history. Like, Carmelo's fundamentals is one of the best in history. Up there with Kobe, Jordan. Like, his offensive fundamentals was ridiculous. But people want to take it away because he didn't win a championship. Not everybody gets to win a ring. The circumstances have to align. Barkley never won a ring, and he was amazing. And people want to knock him down. Like, KG wins a ring later in his career with Boston. That's because prime KG played in Minnesota. He had no chance. He didn't have a team to win in Minnesota. And if he never went to Boston, people would have said he never won a chip. And he would have been knocked down. So we got to have honest conversations about basketball, get back to actually watching the game and not just, saying stuff just to be saying stuff. Oh, this guy won a ring. Nah, man, sometimes it takes a little bit of luck or whatever the right term is to win a championship. Oh, he couldn't lead a team to how many times was Carmelo Anthony on a team where you're like, they just blew it, right? How many times was Carmelo Anthony on a team like the Boston Celtics that had all the pieces necessary to win a chip but did not? Tell me, how many times was Carmelo on a team like the Celtics this year where all the pieces was right there for him to win and he didn't? You can't. It ain't there. But people want to knock this guy. So let's get back, please. And I know I'm screaming into the void here because ain't nobody gonna listen. It's easier on Twitter and social media to have these quick conversations not even conversations, right? Throw out numbers and say, ooh, this guy won 6 chips. Listen, man, Michael Jordan's my favorite player, but he wasn't the best. As I've said before, Michael Jordan wasn't the best because he won 6 chips. He was just the best just because he was the best player. Like his skills, you could watch him and say, okay, in the league right now, Michael Jordan's the best player. And in the league since then, right, there really hasn't been anybody who does what he does. You can see that. And he got the results. But the results was because he played on a team that allowed him to get those results. Steph Curry doesn't win those rings without Draymond being the orchestrator of that offense. And Clay playing mad defense on the best perimeter defender. So now Steph goes down as one of the best because he has 4 rings, but his teams were amazing. And then KD stepped in to help him win too. Right? People, let's chill, man. Let's have basketball debates, basketball only conversations. Take the focus off of the rings and the efficiency and the advanced stats. Like, what did you watch on the floor? Again, yes, Carmelo and everybody else has holes in their game. Some people say, Carmelo didn't play his, the best defense. Okay. Steph Curry don't play the best defense. He has 4 rings. But because he has guys to cover for him. So let's be honest about the conversation, man. Shout out to Melo on a great career. These revisionist history takes suck, man. And they're so basic. It's like, oh, you didn't win a ring. Oh, nah, man. Carmelo Anthony came in averaging 20 points from the beginning. Back when 20 points was hard. Nowadays, anybody can score 20. Carmelo was scoring 20 when 20 points was hard. He came in scoring 20. And for the longest time, however long he, dude was averaging 20 plus. Great offensive player. Great player overall, man. Great career, Melo. Respect. Like, dude is like, I can't think of 5 offensive players since I've been watching basketball last 30-something years better than Carmelo. I just can't. If Carmelo ever had a true number 2, a true Robin, yeah, he could have won a chip. The stars never lined up. People say, yeah, well, he could have gone to Miami and joined up. Listen, man, when you have the chance to make money, you go make money. Being an adult, I'll never tell a cat not to take money. Right? When you're a kid, you can say, hey, man, sign with my team for less than you don't need the money as a kid, youngster. As an adult paying bills with a family, take your money, bro. Go get the money. So shout out to Melo, man. Great career. Don't listen to the haters. You probably don't anyway, but don't listen to the haters, bro. So that's the episode for today, y'all. Appreciate you tuning in once again. Damn, basketball season's over. But don't tune out. I got more for you. But again, congrats to the Nuggets. Great team. Couple more months and we're back to preseason play. Couple more weeks, free agency. Yeah. Interesting season. But shout out to the Nuggets. But appreciate y'all listening once again. I'm going to catch you guys next time. Mike Feldman, Sports in the Real. Peace.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the sec on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.